It started as a standard reconnaissance mission. A 4-man Ukrainian drone team was sent to Sector 17, a forested exclusion zone near the Belarus border. The area had been uninhabited since Soviet times, dotted with the remains of old listening posts and radar towers. Their goal was to investigate strange interference that had been jamming drones and radios. Headquarters assumed it was Russian jamming. Locals believed otherwise. They whispered of a Soviet experiment buried deep in the woods. A place the trees never grew right, a place where light bends and time forgets itself. The soldiers went in on a cold morning. By nightfall, none of them were the same. The forest was dense but lifeless. No wind, no birds. Even the fallen leaves made no sound underfoot. The team advanced slowly, gear tight, eyes scanning. The trees grew in unnatural angles. Some twisted back on themselves. Others had no bark, smooth and white like bones. The GPS signal dropped within minutes. Compass needles spun in circles. They passed a row of rusted vehicles, half swallowed by roots. Old Soviet trucks, their headlights shattered, their tires missing. A fox ran by, limping, hairless, with white eyes. It didn't seem to see them. One soldier, Dimko, stopped and stared at a tree with human teeth embedded in the bark. He said nothing. He just kept walking. When they found the first bunker entrance, just a metal hatch with a red handprint on it, none of them wanted to open it, but they did, and the fog poured out. The hatch creaked open with a sound like bones grinding. A stairwell descended into darkness. The fog wasn't smoke. It was cold and wet, like breathing ice. They went down with flashlights. The bunker beneath was still intact. Soviet symbols lined the walls. Some were normal, unit numbers, chemical warnings. Others weren't, symbols carved by hand, into the concrete, in loops and spirals. Pipes dripped water, or something thicker. They passed rooms filled with broken equipment, papers rotting on the floor. Some documents were sealed in glass and written in symbols no one recognized. At the end of one hall, a door was locked from the inside. The metal was warped outward, like something had tried to escape. A whispering sound began, but not in the air, in their minds. Like someone humming just behind the thoughts. They should have left then, but they didn't. In one sealed room, they found a projector and a table stacked with labeled film canisters. The writing was Soviet, but the labels made no sense. Time compression test 3A, subject 12, returned, vocal mapping successful. One soldier, Levko, insisted on playing one. The reel showed a grainy black and white clip. A man strapped to a chair in the same bunker. As the reel played, the figure began to vibrate, his body blurring. He opened his mouth, but no sound came, just static. And then, on the film, the man looked directly into the camera and smiled. The projector stopped on its own. The bulb popped. When they turned to leave, Levko was gone. His rifle lay on the floor. His flashlight flickered on the far end of the hallway. They followed. They chased Levko's flashlight for what felt like hours. The hallway turned, then again, until they realized they were circling. Same stains, same cracked tile. They left marks on the wall, came back to them minutes later. Time began to stutter. Watches froze. One soldier looked at his hand. It had aged, skin spotted like an old man's. They opened a metal door hoping for escape, but it led to the same hallway. The whispering returned, louder, layered, like hundreds of mouths saying nothing all at once. A light appeared at the end of the hall, warm, orange, inviting. They walked toward it, but only two made it to the end. The two remaining soldiers entered a chamber with red-tinted walls, not paint, light coming from beneath the floor. Symbols pulsed beneath their boots. A body floated in the air above the center, limbs splayed, unmoving, eyes open. The air was thick. Breathing felt like drowning. Then the body blinked, just once. The walls shifted, revealing windows, showing memories that weren't theirs, childhoods they didn't live, faces they never saw. One soldier began to scream. The other fell to his knees, vomiting. The floating body slowly descended to the floor and whispered a word neither of them could remember afterward. The lights went out. Only one soldier woke up, Mykola. The other was gone, no trace, no blood, no gear. Just a single boot, still warm. The bunker was silent now. no whispers, no sound at all. He walked the halls alone, his flashlight dying. The red light no longer glowed. Every room looked the same, gray, frozen, hollow. In one corridor, he passed a mirror that wasn't there before. His reflection didn't match his movement. It lagged. Then it smiled while he did not. He smashed the mirror, but the fragments all still stared at him. He started running. The floor cracked beneath him. He fell through a layer of concrete that dissolved like dust into a lower chamber that didn't appear on any map. A voice greeted him in the dark, not with words, but with something deeper, something that knew his name. He landed in a chamber filled with machinery, giant rusted turbines, tubes, and glass chambers once used for testing. Inside one pod, bones twisted into spirals. In another, liquid that pulsed like a heartbeat. Cables stretched across the floor like veins. Each one pulsed with dull red light. At the far end, a console blinked with unreadable text. He touched it. The room responded. A holographic image blinked into life, rotating human figures, then overlapping timelines. Footage of the team entering the bunker, then again, then again. Each time, something different happened. Different deaths, different outcomes. It was looping. He wasn't the first to come here. He wouldn't be the last. The machine wanted to understand, and it was learning through them. Mykola tried every door. Each one led back to the same room. Sometimes it was clean, sometimes full of blood. Once, the walls were lined with bodies, each version of himself, dead in different ways. He stopped counting after 10. He tried breaking the machinery, but every time he did, he'd wake up again in the same room, with the machine restored. Eventually, he stopped trying. He stared at his reflection on a metal panel and saw something else staring back. Black eyes, stretched features, the same uniform. The room dimmed. His own voice whispered from nowhere, repeating the same word. Stay. He woke again, this time outside. Sunlight, forest, cold wind, birds chirping. The bunker was gone. No hatch, no signs. A Ukrainian medevac team approached. Radios crackled, they shouted, but he couldn't hear. He was taken back to base, examined, cleared, but things were wrong. Mirrors still lagged. Lights flickered when he walked by. Technology behaved oddly around him. Phones died, drones crashed. Worse, his team was never found. And when he looked at satellite images of Sector 17, the forest looked normal. Too normal. Almost as if it had been drawn there. The fog never came back. But he could still hear the whisper in his sleep. And one day, so did the medics. Mykola stayed under watch, but no diagnosis fit. He stopped sleeping. Claimed the dreams weren't his. Claimed he had lived the same day hundreds of times. One night, all cameras in the facility went black for 47 seconds. When they returned, he was gone. Only a smear of ash remained on the bed, shaped like a man curled in sleep. Down the hall, one nurse began to hum the tune from the bunker, a melody no one had taught her. Her eyes turned fully black for 6 seconds, then back to normal. She didn't remember a thing. The next day, the satellite feed of Sector 17 went offline permanently. A sealed report was filed under Ukrainian intelligence. Phenomenon, Sector 17, closed. The case was marked high risk, non-terrestrial in nature. Underneath, one handwritten note. This wasn't the first site, just the first we found. The area is now listed as uninhabitable due to chemical leaks. Locals are told to avoid it, but the forest has grown taller and deeper. Sometimes, villagers hear voices in the fog. Sometimes, old Soviet radios left in storage hum with unknown frequencies. Sometimes a mirror doesn't reflect what it should. And every year, a little more static creeps into the sky. Thanks for listening to this story. What started as a simple patrol turned into something far stranger. Some places aren't meant to be entered, and some doors, once opened, don't close. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We release new war stories, paranormal horrors, and classified missions every week. Until next time, stay sharp, stay sane, and don't follow the signal.